one of the agile practices that puts us clearly and explicitly in the category of agile banditry is using say-do metrics. That's metrics where you're looking at what people say they were going to do and then what they actually did. A great example of that is, I guess my favorite example is from an organization that I worked with many years ago. The head of PMO brought me into his office to show me some of the metrics that they presented up to leadership in the organization. And for each of the projects, this was many years ago, each of the projects that they had underway, I think there were 5 projects they had underway, they had a original estimate versus actual. That's the quintessential say-do, original estimate and actuals for each of the projects. And they were in the thousands of hours, right? Like 5,000 hours. And something I noticed right away when he showed me this presentation, it was a presentation to show the leadership, was that of the 5 projects, all of them were within 20%. But if you know your metrics and you know your statistics, you'll probably know from the chaos report of the Standish group that 65% of the features that we think we're going to build change during the life of the project. So how could it possibly be only a 20% deviation between the amount of time we think it's going to take and the amount of time it's actually going to take? So that was my first clue that something was up. My second clue was that 3 of the projects were within 15%. 2 of them were within 10%. And then I noticed that one project that said 5,232 hours original estimate, 5,232 hours actuals. And I just turned the graph around, pointed at that one and said, but this is BS. How could you possibly have these numbers be the same? And he said, well, right, you know there's something bad coming when somebody does that. Well, last year, yearly budgets, whole other problem. Last year, we created this report with what happened, and we gave it to leadership, and they had a tantrum and threw their toys out the pram and shouted at us and made our lives a misery. So this year, we made a change to the system, and we allowed project managers to make a change request to their original estimate. And that project manager just got his change request in just before we completed the report, before the deadline. So the original estimate had been changed more than once in order to get the graphs to look like they did. So they're going to go and present this to leadership, and leadership is potentially going to make decisions on what they fund, what they don't fund, based on this type of data. This data that is complete fiction. It's just complete fiction. So you don't want that in organizations. If you have monitor say-do metrics, there are many other types of say-do metrics, but the most common one is original estimate and actuals, right? Monitoring say-do metrics reduces psychological safety, right? That PMO, the PMO of a big organization didn't feel safe enough to show leadership the real data. They had to create vanity metrics in order to make them happy. We tend to focus on output rather than outcome, right? Well, you said you were going to deliver 10 things, but you only actually delivered 9 things. You suck, right? Whereas in actual fact, we delivered 9 of the most valuable things. Wasn't that better if we delivered 9 things that were more valuable than the 10 things that were asked for, right? Or you delivered 0 of the things we asked. I remember being at a MVP summit at Microsoft, where they invited us to come and talk about the product. And the year before, we'd done a whole bunch of stats and learnings on what are the most valuable features that we as MVPs believe Azure DevOps needs as a product. I think it was TFS service at the time. What are the cool features we need? We did days, like 5 days of figuring out what that was and came up with a list of here's the top 5 things that we believe all of our customers need in the product. And the very first thing the next year when Brian Harry got up to do his keynotes entry starting presentation to kick the next summit off, he said, here's a list of the 5 things that you said were the best things we could build. And I'll tell you now, we've built none of them. Here's what we did build. Instead of building the things that we thought were the most valuable, he went off and totally blew our socks off with all the things he did build that were much more valuable to our customers. If we'd held them to the say-do metric, they delivered nothing that we asked for. And that is absolutely not the case. So don't focus on output over outcome. You want to be focusing on the outcomes, what it is you're trying to achieve. And that overemphasis that comes from it on estimation is key to that negative feeling that people have when you monitor them with say-do metrics. Just stop doing say-do metrics. Don't be a bandit and give up on that agile banditry of say-do metrics. If you're being ambushed by agile bandits in your organization, then my team at Naked Agility can help you or help you find a consultant or expert who can. You can set up a no obligation consultation using the links below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.